pledge allegiance
To the
to
flag
the flag of the United States of
America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is roll call. Mark, will you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Jason Borschman,
Here.
Sam Morocco,
Here.
Ronald Ritchie.
Here.
Mark Branchaw here, Joseph Sucher.
Here.
David Lamore,
Present.
and Bill Scarborough.
Present. Thank you. We have a quorum. Review of the agenda. Does anybody have any changes?
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Next item is public comment for items not on the agenda. We have one person in the audience, and they usually show up on the side there or something, don't they, if they're...
Yeah, I don't think we have anybody on. Is the meeting on though?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, do you have anybody?
All right. So, for the benefit of anybody who's listening, public comment for items not on the agenda, that's exactly what it says for items that are not on the agenda. During each agenda item, we will give any audience people the opportunity to comment on those. So if anybody is here who would like to comment, now's your chance. Nothing? Anybody online, if there's anybody that I'm missing? Okay, I'll close the public comment for items not on the agenda. Public hearings, we have none. Next item is G, regular business. Items 1, 2, and 3, those are 3 separate parcels that we've initiated rezonings on. And last time we looked at it, we postponed it to a date certain, that date being today, and that's why it's here today. So Megan, would you like to update us on that?
Certainly. So I've been in contact with the county, who owns 2 of 3 parcels. They have been in negotiations with a developer who's shown interest in the property and developing it as multiple family or single family attached, or maybe mixed use. They hope to have a decision from the developer as to whether they'd like to take that project on in the next month or so, definitely by May. In terms of your options going forward, what you have is that you could call a public hearing for the proposed rezoning of all of the parcels or some of those parcels in question. Again, noting that we had an improper notice before and we need to do it again. You could postpone the matter indefinitely. You could postpone the matter to a date certain, or you could withdraw the rezoning request.
Okay. Joe?
Question for Megan. If we call a public hearing, will that just get it out of the way in case we move forward with the project?
If you called, yes.
Okay, so I mean, that's an option.
Mhm.
Okay, if we don't call the public hearing now, means if they want to move forward and they tell us that, whoever they is, then we're going to have to go back and say, well, wait a minute, we got to do the public hearing. Right?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's the option.
And if we do a public hearing, just to be clear, we don't need to make a decision at that meeting. We can just do the public hearing and have the same options we have tonight.
Mhm.
Sam?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure what, I mean, we're initiating this rezoning. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be moving forward with the rezoning. We haven't heard anything from anybody so far that would give us the reason why we wouldn't try to align this with the master plan. I mean, I'm hoping the gentleman in the office, in the room is gonna speak, you know, if he's involved in this, or what I've gotten out of all of these meetings is that what we're requesting is giving these properties more flexibility, and it's been relatively receptive accepted by the petitioners as something that seemed more of a viable plan, and we haven't been hit with any hard opposition of this, really, because of what our intent is with it and how we want it to develop, and that seems to be more marketable than how it's zoned anyway. So I think, that, you know, we would, there's no reason I can see why we wouldn't move forward with the public hearing and keep advancing it until somebody comes up with a reason why we would think that we would alter course,
Right.
you know,
Right.
really.
Well, I think the impression I got, and Megan, maybe you can elaborate on this, is the property owner is still a little hesitant on the rezoning to office.
I would say in the communications with both Oakland County and the property owner who's an individual, that both are hesitant and not in support of office service.
Okay. So, it's my perception, the reason that we have postponed this was to give them a little opportunity so that we could be flexible with them and kind of meet some kind of arrangement that would be mutually agreeable. But it's, it's taking a little longer than.
Okay, I did not have that understanding that we were trying to find a mutual agreement. My understanding was that we were trying to explain to them the potentials and benefits of what we're rezoning, period. And whether they're agreeance with it or not isn't really, that's not the decision maker. They don't need to agree with it.
No, they don't.
So I'm not trying, I think we're doing a good job, and I've been very forthright in trying to get dialogue with them and talk to them and make sure that we're doing everything we can to be, to consider their situation, but the outcome doesn't change. I don't think it's appropriate that it stays the way that it is, clearly, after 20 years
Right.
of master plans calling it out. So they need to, if there's some other thing at the public hearing, some other way that we could rezone it, if we had a multi-use zoning, I think we'd all agree that we would possibly use that, but we don't. So, you know, we've outlined the most flexible, best possible zoning to give them the most opportunity to develop it, as long as it's not what it's currently zoned, is
Yeah.
how I'm looking at it. You know what I mean? And we just keep going down the steps, and hopefully they keep giving us input. And before we make our final recommendation to the township board, whether it's this or we've been swayed to do something else that we're in agreement with that would be more flexible for them, I think we just keep going. That
Yeah.
would be the procedure.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just so I understand, and I agree with Sam 100%, this will bring zoning into compliance with the master plan, or at least more in compliance.
If we go through.
If we go through with this.
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, and that's our goal anyways, so I see no reason to not move forward regardless of what anyone else says.
Yeah. You guys got any comments? No?
Well, we've got multiple steps to adjust still. I
Oh,
just think we gotta just
agreed.
keep
Yeah.
keep going.
Dave?
My only concern, I'm okay with a public hearing, because the whole point of it is to get the public opinion, to give everybody a chance to be heard, we get it on record. We've kind of come to what we believe is most aligned with the master plan, and to bring the parcels into compliance. So to me, it's just part of the process, and that's a chance to get all the input, get it recorded, and see if you want to move forward to the next step. The only hesitation I have is if we really believe that a couple of the owners have a strong opposition, if there's a chance that there might be some negotiation in the meantime, I don't have a public hearing and then immediately have another one. I'd like to know what their proposal is, so that we don't like run the public in and then, weeks later say, no, we've got this alternative. But if we just have individuals or entities that are saying, I just don't want it to change, then I'm okay with moving out of the public hearing, because nothing's gonna be solved in weeks. So can you give me a sense for what is the opposition, they think they have a better solution, or just they don't wanna change from the current C1 zoning?
The opposition is that they don't feel like a change to office service is marketable, and they would not want that change. At this point in time, also, I would say that they are in negotiations with the with a developer who would take an interest in the property. But it's not clear whether that's gonna go forward or not. It would probably be clear by the end of April.
Okay.
But what they're
Can I-
proposing would comply with the office service or multi-use.
What has been, from my understanding from what's been discussed, it would be not in line with office service, it would be in line with either attached family residential, multiple family, or mixed use.
But not C1,
Not commercial.
not commercial.
C4.
Not commercial.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to me, just to be practical about this, for the commission, I'd be in favor of setting a hearing date out a few weeks. Give them a chance and say, it's coming. If you have another proposal that you think might be applicable, you can catch us before the public hearing, and, we can certainly make adjustments. Again, I'd just like to avoid doing it twice,
Yeah,
but I think what we've got on here is probably the most generous and still aligned with the master plan as far as flexibility for development. But if it's just, I don't want to do it, then we might as well go ahead with the public hearing. Our job in part is to get zoning aligned
Yeah.
and correct.
Well, going to multifamily attached or aligns with,
It does.
aligns with what we want to do.
That's what I'm
You know,
confused
we
about.
don't want commercial property there. We want something that's, the reason that office service is, typically the transition between commercial
Yeah.
and residential. So it's the mildest commercial. I don't think there's anyone here that would be opposed of a good multifamily or residential development there would solve our problem.
And this wouldn't
You know what I
prevent
mean?
that.
It's just, it would have been even bolder for us to come out and try to rezone it residential from heavy commercial. That would have really hamstringed them into that. That's why the office service was the middle of the road.
It's been a lot of years.
And would
that
these
it's-
have to be developed as PUDs, or do you think they could be done under the current zoning, if we did the current zoning? Because at that point, it's not as relevant as zoning. If they have to be PUDs, that's not as relevant. If let's say hypothetically, we zoned them attached, multifamily attached or whatever, and could they meet all the confines of that ordinance on that parcel without having to ask for a planned development? Because then it would make a difference of what our input would be to it, and we would be restricting them, by having the right, if we zoned it R1A or whatever, or multifamily, they don't really need to ask for a whole lot of, as much if it's all compliant. Would that be possible even for
So-
any zoning to be compliant?
Right. Yes, if it was zoned all to the attached single-family residential district or to the multifamily district, and all 4 parcels were part of the package, then it would be likely that it could be developed under that zoning without any exceptions. So no need for a PUD or no need for a variance. If it is, but that wouldn't match your master plan. Your master plan explicitly says office service for this area. Other places along Dixie Highway, it talks about having attached single family, and so it's implicit, so it's a bit more of a leap, which you typically don't take when you're initiating, when a municipality initiates a rezoning.
Right.
So, that said, if it was mixed use, that's gonna have to be a PUD. Other options that have been discussed also are a PRO or, conditional rezoning, where a site plan would come along with it. That would then bind the applicant to that site plan as part of the rezoning. But both of those have to be initiated by the applicant. It's not something that the township can impose or rezone to themselves.
okay. Let me, if I may, let's just see if we have any comments from the audience on this topic. Anybody out there want to say anything? Anybody online? We have one person I see now, or is that me, is that you?
It's Megan.
Did you want to say anything? No? Okay. Just a comment from me, I would be in favor of setting a public hearing. I would be in favor of setting it in May, because the applicant has said that he hopes to have something by May. So I think that would send a message to them that we're willing to work with them, but that's our deadline.
I'd be comfortable with that. And just as a point of information, we want to keep away from talking about this in terms of like they have a project or development, right? When you rezone for, if it gets that far, for all the potential uses, like, you
Yep.
know, developments. We talk a little bit here because somebody may be saying, I've got this going, but you don't rezone for a specific solution. You rezone because it's appropriate for the area. They just may be thinking of a particular solution that may be driving their thought. That's fine. And if they want to meet before, you know, in between the meeting, I think we put that out there and say, we're happy to meet and talk about this before the public hearing, and if there's a better alternative, you know, we're open. But I like the idea of putting it in May. I think it gives them ample time, and there's no sense of urgency here other than we want to get our master plan aligned, you know, our zoning aligned with the master plan.
Well, and it's on record now
Yeah,
that these
yeah.
parcels are under review, so.
Yeah, I don't want to go a year, but a couple months I think is
I think that's a great idea.
considerate. Good job, Mr. Chair.
Anybody else?
I agree.
I'll make a motion to set a
You had a
pub,
question?
No, no.
Oh, sorry.
Just
I'll make a
I was
motion.
gonna make a motion if,
set a public hearing, for the rezoning of these three parcels in May.
Support?
And we should probably do a roll call on that.
okay, Sam,
Yes.
Ronald,
Yes.
Mark, yes, Joseph,
Yes,
David,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I think you're just afraid of pronouncing Lohmeyer, but
Should I say the full name?
You should- no, it's all right.
Is it- or first name, is that fine?
I think you scared my name a little. No.
First time out of the gate, guys.
as long as
Okay,
there's not two people
You're
with the
doing
same
great,
first
buddy.
name.
next item, PUD zoning ordinance subcommittee. This is, so it was in the agenda packet last month, and as I explained, there were some suggested changes made. So you've seen the meat of it, but this is the one with the suggested changes. And I hope everybody took an opportunity to go through it and read it. And then the second item on this is the memo from the Planning Commission to the Board of Trustees that summarizes what we think needs to be amended in the ordinance. There was not much change in that memo. The one change is in red type. And unfortunately, I didn't know how to do a PowerPoint and have it show changes. So, I don't know if you guys want me to walk you through this, or if you're comfortable with it. Whatever your flavor is.
Just a question, Mr. Chair. I'm sure we got the unanimous support of the subcommittee for the changes, right? 'Cause you
Yes, we
asked
did.
Yeah.
Yes. Both the PC subcommittee and the PUD review
Yeah.
subcommittee was okay with,
That.
yeah.
Just a question. Did you run by I know the supervisor had a lot of input in the wording. Did you run by him? Just to see?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Just so we don't have wordsmithing back and forth after.
I don't think he's seen, I ran by him, he gave me suggestions for a few more changes. I mean, the changes I made weren't word for word. It basically reflected the flavor of what he suggested. I made them, and I don't know if he's seen, I didn't send it to him, but I think it meets what he
Okay.
wants.
Yeah, I wasn't giving him veto power over it.
Yeah.
I know he had a lot of good input before, so appreciate it.
Yeah. Anybody got questions on this?
Can I make a couple comments on this, Bill? First of all, I think this is, in reading this, I think the subcommittee did a great job. But when I went through and I looked at some of these PUDs that we put in here, it raises huge alarm bells with me. I don't know how, when you look at a PUD, that there's such a deviation from, like this Walden Village, from the density we approved to the surrounding neighborhood. To me, it seems like a PUD should be conforming with the surrounding neighborhood a little bit. And I'm looking at the numbers on some of these, and I'm trying to understand, it seems like, we're doing 100% more doing a PUD over what our ordinance. And I'm glad, I really appreciate, I think the subcommittee did a great job on this, but a couple questions I had. Is there a minimum requirement for open space with the township? Do we have one?
No.
So we can go down to almost nothing. Is that something we'd want to look at
Well-
during a PUD, or no?
Yes, I think that is one of the things that we mentioned in so many words in the what we want to achieve, is
Okay.
have a benchmark. Yeah.
Okay, and the other question I had was, if a developer comes in and does a PUD and does, say, commercial in the front, residential in the back, can that PUD be split off after it's done?
You mean like from the residential, like
Yeah.
commercial
Well,
from the residential?
Yeah, can
They
it be
always
split?
have, they always have the right to amend a PUD. And
Okay,
Yeah, but a PUD's supposed to be under one one control.
but that's, I understand that, Sam, but the question I have for the commission is, can it be split after it's done?
That's interesting how that's out of goal.
Because the reason why I say that is because I know of an incident where they did split a PUD, and then you got issues with, well, who's supposed to do the maintenance on the roads now? One's pointing the finger at one, and one's pointing the finger at the other, and what was split?
And
Is that something that the subcommittee's looking at?
Was that
That's
in
something-
Independence or somewhere
What's
else?
that?
Was that in Independence or somewhere else?
No, it was somewhere else.
Okay, just curious.
if I can find it, I can't get my hands on it right away, but that is something I think it's what we want to achieve. We want to make sure that the maintenance agreements are in place and that they address the proper maintenance. Not that the township's gonna do it, but, you've run into problems with developments where phase one needs some improvements on their infrastructure, and phase two doesn't wanna pay for it. And it gets into conflicts and all that kind of stuff. Same thing you wanna, yeah, I mean, over in Walden Village, there's some dead bushes at the back of the Meyer parking lot. And, or some areas that not being very well maintained. And, yeah, I'm sure I could see very easily there'd be a dispute over who's maintaining it. My guess is it's probably documented, but,
Okay.
You know.
Well, don't get me wrong,
I get your
I
point.
read what the subcommittee's looking to do, and I fully support that, but that was one of the questions I had, like, if they do split the PUD, would that fall in, who would have oversight of that type of thing, especially if you're talking roads, now you got a big problem. Would that be something that would be done before we agreed to a PUD moving forward, or like,
It'd be in the agreement.
Yeah, and it'd have to be an
The-
amendment to do, it's a really extreme example. It's kind of funny that you actually have one where it was done, because I'm trying to think of the logic of that. It would have to be, Megan's laughing. It would have to be someone coming in and say, here's my amendment. I propose we split this off, and then we'd have to agree to it. That'd be a bizarre thing to even entertain. I don't want to say it could never happen, because I guess you could always amend to
well,
anything.
but like understand, Walden Village, every owner has the right to sell their unit. And I'm sure the people that own the Myers and the commercial portion, they have the right to sell that property to some other investor. But they sell it subject to the PUD agreement that's in place. So those conditions remain. So you gotta make sure, again, as you're alluding, that the maintenance requirements are properly spelled out.
okay.
I don't think we've ever had one of those, have we? A plot split off a piece of property, do you think?
No, but, Mr. Chair, can I answer the question? It would be possible if in the PUD they had used, let's say, a site condo, and there were different pads, retail pads, as
Right.
opposed to, and then different residential properties, maybe for single family or attached single family. those could be sold off, and then what's critical is that in the development agreements, there are provisions for maintenance of all the infrastructure and who's responsible. Often that's also in the condominium docs, and then, in condominium documents. And then, also for, who's responsible after the development is done for maintaining landscaping, et cetera. And those are things that if you revise the PUD regulations, you could specify that those things have to be present in the condominium docs or the development agreement. So that creates a checklist later for any review that those things need to be there.
Okay.
Mark, this whole thing is driven by us realizing that there's no boundaries.
Oh, I'm with you,
In
Sam. I'm
anything.
with you, Sam. No, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I talked to Bill.
You know, the setbacks, the buffering, it's always been just an up for negotiation with the planning commission, and there's never been, I'm not gonna say there aren't any boundaries, but the boundaries are not defined enough, and they're too, lax for what we wanna have as development. So, that's the whole sparking of everything, is that we've identified clearly after, that it's been a free-for-all.
100% agree with you, Sam.
And that's been going on for a long time, and part of that is, depending on who's put on the planning commission, regulates how the construction goes, okay? So you get supervisors who get to appoint people, and they can appoint people. I was on the planning commission for 20 years, so I know it went from preservation on the planning commission to, we went through a recession, and we needed to spark building, and then we got a little bit more laxed because we were looking for more development, in the mid-2000s, you know what I'm saying? And then it got a little lax, and it never got reined in. And now we just want to put some buffers in place to limit the latitude that the changing members get to have, And Bill's, thank God he took it on as a task, because it's a big one,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things getting cleaned up in the township, and tightened up, and I think that's all gonna be better.
I guess my only comment, I don't interpret that I'm being critical of Bill.
No,
Just
you
the
should be.
opposite.
You
What I'm
should.
saying is, when I started looking at this, being new, I was stunned
Yeah.
at looking at this. I was blown away by the density on some of these things and just what's been going on. And I was like, wow. I mean, everybody in Independence Township should have see this. It's truly stunning. But I appreciate Bill, what he's doing, and fully support it.
Thank you.
That was just my input. So, thanks.
Thank you. So how about a motion to approve this for presentation to the board?
Second.
Okay, I'll make it.
You didn't realize you were moving.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Megan is doing the May for this, and she's gonna shoot for the March 24th meeting. I think it would be very helpful to have as many of the planning commission members as possible there. So, keep your eye on the board agendas.
I'll be there, Bill. I'm there for you.
Thank you, folks. Next item is, it is called North Sashabaw Report. At one of these P2 meetings, we had an opportunity to look at a proposed development on Sashabaw in the so-called Pine Knob area, which caused me to study the master plan and the zoning ordinance as it pertains to that area. And that's what led to this. So we all know that we've got what we call the Sashabaw corridor target area, and I think we have a pretty good understanding of the goals that we want to achieve in that area. The master plan and zoning ordinance, in an effort to be a little more specific, breaks down the Sashabaw corridor into two distinct but connected sub-areas. In the, I get them confused which one calls it which one, but the Town Center Overlay District is referred to in the master plan in the Town Center ordinance and design guidelines as an urban dense mixed-use, pedestrian-driven, with strict design and zoning controls to create a vibrant city civic court. The Pine Knob sub-area in various areas of the phrase is natural, low-density, campus-oriented, and transitional, prioritizing environmental preservation and compatibility with rural areas. It's my opinion that the master plan and zoning district does not provide sufficient provisions to implement the goals of the master plan as it relates to the Pine Knob area. So in this document, to better drill down on some of those things, I did a chart which talked about certain aspects of the town center as it compared to aspects of the Pine Knob area. So again, on the first one, town center, the master plan uses the language civic, commercial, social heart of the corridor. In regards to the Pine Knob area, it uses the terms transitional zone between the township and more rural northern and western areas. It refers to the town center as compact and urban style, refers to the Pine Knob area as a campus development. I can go through these. It's also for the benefit of the public. So I won't go over every one, but just for the benefit of the public, highlight some of it. Functions as an anchor and focal point of the Sashabaw corridor, talking about the town center, and the Pine Knob area functions as a buffer and transition to the north and west. Town center references locating buildings facing Sashabaw and at standard front setbacks. In the Pine Knob area, it refers to site arrangements should be designed to fold into the landscape, preserving mature trees and respecting natural features. We have the North Sashabaw Overlay District zoning ordinance in our ordinance. I don't believe it provides sufficient provisions to make sure that those goals can be achieved. It actually says that the town center design guidelines should apply in the North Sashabaw overlay area. And there's certain aspects of those design guidelines that I don't think should apply, like streetlights. Not that we shouldn't have streetlights, but I think in the town center, they're supposed to be every so many feet. If you have a campus-like style, you might want more randomly placed streetlights. Specific styles of fencing, knee walls, street trees. Again, if you're gonna have a campus-style setting with cluster of trees, you shouldn't require a street tree every so many feet. Applying town center guidelines wholesale undermines the master plan call for a distinct, more natural Pine Knob identity. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. I don't want to elaborate on it. A curious point is the ordinance says that the North Sashaba overlay district will be the area so indicated on the official township zoning map. It doesn't indicate it. It indicates all of our overlay districts with a black line, but it doesn't name which is which. And, so in the master plan calls it one thing, the zoning ordinance calls it another. Is that, are they really referring to the same thing? So I think there's a lot that needs to be changed. And that's the purpose of bringing this forward. And to get feedback from my fellow planning commission members.
Mr. Chairman, I guess when you talk about that, you say it's not outlined. I guess since I've been on the planning commission for a while, I guess in reviewing the master plan, I always was under the impression that the town center guidelines went all the way to basically everything from the south of Fleming's Lake Road. And that the Pine Knob area or the North Sashabo area was everything north of Fleming's Lake Road, so.
In regards, in the overlay district zoning ordinance, the North Sashaba overlay district, it does say, don't quote me word for word, that the town center design guidelines shall apply in the North Sashaba area. It does say that.
And I agree with you, some of that, probably does not fit because, you want, in the town center, we don't have as big a setbacks. We want stuff out by the road.
Yeah.
In the Pine Knob area, the north area, we want more off the road, so.
Yeah.
So what do you, Fleming's Lake Road and the golf course have always been that's the break point,
Pretty much, yeah.
right there. Is that not clearly
Yeah, and
defined?
the other side of the road, it goes a little bit north because it got
It goes
the
to
strip mall
Yeah,
there.
it goes to the golf course where
Right.
the daycare center
Correct.
hits it, and then that's the break.
Right.
And then it's supposed to go,
I think, I'd have to take another look at the zoning map. Do you remember, Megan, does the zoning map outline it at Fleming's Lake, or does it start down by the on-ramp or off-ramp?
We can look at it, the official zoning map, and what you've said, Mr. Chair, is true, that all of the overlay districts are shown just with a dashed line. It doesn't distinguish between the three different overlay districts that you have: the Dixie Highway overlay, the Town Center overlay, and the North Sashaba overlay. If you wanted to know where each one is, the best resource for that is the parcel viewer map application that's on the township's website. So if, as you're going through that, if the map is a concern, you could direct that to be changed so it's more easily understood where each overlay district is. But in terms of where it is, I think that it goes, then you have it up, right? So, you can tell them.
are you concerned
I
about the
think
two
it's
parcels
from
south
Fleming's
of
Lake.
Fleming's Lake?
Yeah, Fleming's Lake, Fleming's Lake is the break, between the two different, Sashaba overlay districts. And then, North Sashaba goes all the way up, to the parcels just north of Clarkston Road.
Yeah. I'm not that concerned, Sam, about the boundaries. I think it's implied. But I'd like the actual North Sashaba overlay zoning district to have an exact map of what area it's referring to. So there's no confusion. I don't like confusion when you get into, I like it to be pretty clear. My biggest concern with this is that the provisions that would guide us towards implementing the goals of the master plan, the design goals and stuff like that aren't there. That's my biggest concern.
So what do we need to do to implement an alignment to the master plan? What would be the next steps? We all
My
agree.
suggestion is to do similar to what we did with the PUD and create a subcommittee of the planning commission to drill down, similar to what we did on the PUD, and figure out not the exact ordinance change, but what we want to change in the ordinance, you know? Like, we need a minimum open space of 20% or whatever it is, you know, things
Well,
like that.
I think if there's not like the setback's gonna be one of the biggest things, because it's supposed to be the exact opposite of the South Sashaba, which is buildings in the front, parking in the rear, walkability. The other side, campus style, which we've been is like Monarch,
Yep.
the steel, the steel company back there, everything off the road, way back, setbacks, hidden in the woods, not walkable, not walker friendly,
Right.
completely different, because that's the transition to the rural and, the rural part of the township. That's where it starts to go black. It's supposed to anyway, and the lighting is, I think, a little bit different there, but the, those are like the PUD definitions and boundaries that aren't clearly defined.
Yeah.
And all of this cleanup stuff is, I think that as you're doing one and presenting it, then I like the idea. Now, let's do another district, and let's
Yeah.
sprinkle this in constantly during regular planning commission meetings and get some stuff tightened up as quick as possible.
Jason?
At least review it and talk about it.
Yep, so I think way back when, we said, hey, the master plan, we spent a lot of time on it, and it always ends up being tweaked a little more towards, what we desire, right? But then we've identified several areas where they don't line up with the master plan. I think the first area we decided to chase after was the Dixie Highway, and wasn't this corridor the second area that we were gonna start chasing after? So what if I guess this is maybe a question for Megan. Say we have a subcommittee, we come up with a list of 2 things, 5 things, whatever. How do we implement that? Is that an overlay district change? Is that a rezoning? Or what would be the legal way that we would proceed from there?
It would be a zoning ordinance amendment change to the overlay, to the North Sashaba overlay district.
Okay,
Yeah, there is a separate ordinance within our zoning ordinance for the North Sashaba area.
okay, that's clear.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I appreciate the work that went into this, but let me ask, and I guess generally for the whole commission up here, over the last, 5 or 10 years, as we've had some development along the Sashaba corridor in particular, I'm kind of stepping away from the North Sashaba and focusing kind of on the overlay district here in Sashaba. Have there been developments that we were really incredibly disappointed that didn't really meet? Because I don't think the point here is that our theme or our target or our vision is wrong. It's, do we have enough meat on the ordinances to make sure we get what we want? And I'm trying to think of what's happened recently that we would step back and say, we really got a hole in our ordinance because that happened.
I wasn't involved in the Monarch Grove. Monarch Grove was,
That's North Sash, I'm talking about the Sashaba corridor here, the overlay. Right, Monarch is
Yeah,
past
that's in
Lawrence.
the Pine Knob
I'm
district.
thinking along here, along the Sashaba
The town
overlay
center.
district. Yeah, the town center in this area.
oh,
Because honestly, I've been pretty happy with what's gone in. I think my biggest disappointment, frankly, is it's not developed as quickly
Yeah.
and as thoroughly as any of us envisioned.
yeah.
Honestly, you have, one of the first lines in here is the Sashaba corridor is the economic backbone of Independence Township. It's not. We thought it was gonna be. But if you added up the revenue dollars across the township, it's not the Sashaba corridor. There's still huge parcels of undeveloped land. The hospital's not there. It's probably never gonna come. People slap me for that, but it's probably never gonna come. And it's been slow.
Agreed.
So my only concern is layering on requirements when we already don't have, the kind of velocity that we wanted on the corridor. I would have liked to look back at this point, 10, 15 years ago, looking at this corridor, I thought, this is gonna be beautiful. They're all gonna look like, the design architecture of the car wash, which when we put that up there, I don't know how much money they put into the brick of the car wash. The guy's like, and then they tried to write it recently, but I haven't really been disappointed with what's come up on the Sashaba corridor. What's disappointed me is it hasn't fully developed. It hasn't, I mean, we've still got a lot of open parcels. I think we could get what we want. I think our effort should be to attract people. I'm a little worried about putting more regulations on
Well,
solving a
but-
problem that I don't know that we have.
But this would be more regulations on the North Sashaba.
I'm kind
Wouldn't
of open to that.
affect town center.
I'm not all that unhappy with North Sashaba either. You know, the
Well-
setbacks are good, the safety paths, I'm just giving my objective
Well,
opinion here, guys. Looking at
here's
how
a-
it's developed, I can't point at something and say, this was horrific.
Here's my input on Monarch Grove. Monarch Grove was a special land use because they wanted to put 3 stories. It was not a
Right.
PUD. Sam and his planning commission at that time did a great job of negotiating some pretty good perimeter setbacks. That wasn't
Ron was probably
required.
on there
Right.
with me
I
too.
get
Yeah, Ron was on, that wasn't required.
Right.
We were lucky we had a cooperative developer and that they wanted a 3rd story. If he wanted to go with 2 stories,
Could have been a little more different. We had a little
Could
more
have been a tougher
negotiating.
negotiation, right?
So we just had a developer approach the township about doing something on North Sashaba,
Mhm.
completely opposite of what our goals and objectives were.
yeah.
You know, that's all I'm gonna say about that. We explained our goals and objectives to him, and he was
Mhm.
very receptive to them and understood that what we were looking for, the transitional architecture and zoning and setbacks and dark sky and all that was still, he felt financially obtainable to change directions
Right.
into that, which was great.
Right, and I think that list of
but-
people who have tried
but-
and had to
right.
redo things is pretty long, right?
Right, but I can say that I don't feel that we like to, I don't think that what Bill's talking about doing is gonna hinder that development, but we don't have setbacks to achieve that goal. We just say that we want you to be set back and we don't want parking up by the road and, you know, but we're just,
We have a narrative. that
we don't really
yeah.
have it dialed in. It's more of a narrative,
Wish list.
Yeah.
a feel of
A vision.
campus style is very vague. That really does, you know, that's just doesn't really
And
say
maybe
anything.
that would say make it more palatable to me. If we had, 3 or 4 things we're gonna go after here, 'cause I'm seeing the kind of the report out, and my first fear is, let's just not develop, 35
Right.
things. Because I think one of our goals would be to try to attract the
Right.
types of things that we haven't been able to
Right.
finish Sashaba with. But if we're talking about a handful, 3 or 4 setbacks and a few other things that aren't gonna break the deal, I'm not opposed
Just like
to
we're
that.
doing with the PUD, they're boundaries,
Yep.
a starting point.
Yep.
So that no matter what, who in the future negotiates for these parcels, when they do develop, there's a limit to what you can give away.
I just
you
want to be
know,
leery.
for that.
I just want to be leery.
You know?
This is to the whole commission. I just want to be leery of being the corridor where people are like, yeah, they're really hard to work with though. Have you seen the requirements?
Right.
It's lathered on there. I'll never, and then we lose out on a really nice, economic engine or something that creates jobs in the area.
I agree with you, but I'm also worried that that same parcel that we looked at, if that guy came to us fortunately, he wanted to do a mixed use, so it had to be a PUD. If he came to us with a straight site plan, with the building and parking lot right up by Sashaba, and with no perimeter setbacks, no buffering along, we could have been forced to approve something that does not meet with our ordinance at all.
Well,
Well, our intent.
we wouldn't
With our
approve something that
intent.
doesn't meet with
Our
our
intent.
ordinance.
Yeah, with
Master,
our
yes.
intent.
That-
What our
that's-
goals are.
That's
you
why I
know?
started this whole thing with,
Right.
give me some examples. I don't think we've had like a disaster yet. And I know
No,
we want to
we
prevent
haven't.
that, but I want to kind of avoid,
Well,
I've never seen us be prosperous as a result of overregulation. It just shies me.
I can tell you that I've been to a lot of these pre-meetings where people come here with conceptual plans
Sure.
for the township that we meet with, and that's not a complaint that we're too stringent or we're too strict.
Yeah.
The only time that we have a problem with people is when they come in and say, I'm gonna develop every single inch of this property, and that's it, everything's parking lots and buildings. Like,
Yep.
there's absolutely no creativity, there's no, but working with other municipalities as I do for my job, we're a very, easy to work with, builder-ready township. And I don't get that feel, because I'm about slow growth, not long growth. That way it lasts longer, we don't have to raise taxes after we live beyond our means. That's always my strategy. Just slow roll enough to keep us all running steady. So I'm not anti-development, I'm just good development. So, but I do want, just from my perspective to you, I think that we're not perceived that way, that we're overreaching, or that we're, that we're not accommodating. And clearly, you can tell by the development in the township in the past, we've been very accommodating.
And honestly, I've been on a lot of initial
Right, you've been on it
site
before,
plans.
yeah.
And I've also found that what we've had in place has enabled us to stop some things that were pretty dramatic. And some of you won't remember this, but I can remember the garbage hauling, the truck depot, Home Depot, which would have been where Myers is. We've
Ryder.
had suitable Ryder, and these are, nobody will remember these in the audience, but these are things that we were able to stop because we had, I think, good plans in place, and we were able to show it wasn't in our best interest. We never had one of those, but I also wouldn't want, like, how the hell did that ugly retail thing get on Sasha And I just don't see a lot of danger, so I'm open, guys, but I'd like to keep the list short and be very specific about, so we don't cause more problems trying to solve a problem that may not be there. I want to encourage people to come on Sasha and finish it out. So just my initial, I'm gonna be kind of critical of this, make sure we don't overdo. But I appreciate the view that's come in here, that we see some danger. We're all terrible today.
Yeah, well, I gotta keep in mind, I'm in case your wife falls.
There you go. Okay, that's all, you've got my opinion,
Anybody else? How about in the audience? Anybody in the audience have any comment on this topic? Okay. So, I would ask for a couple volunteers. I mean, I guess I'd like to be one of the members on the subcommittee, but
I'll go.
Joe,
Again,
Me too.
I'm in.
then I'm
Okay,
gonna.
go ahead.
Jason, Mark. Mark, you wanna do it?
Yep.
Okay,
I'll be right back.
okay. So we got Joe and, Joe and Mark.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
I don't think we
Yeah,
can
we
have.
can't do more than three.
Yeah.
Because then we'll have a
Oh,
quorum.
that's true, sorry, yeah.
Can't do more than three.
One of the audience members want to say something? I thought somebody acted like they wanted to talk.
I'm sorry? You thought somebody wanted to
Is there a
say
question
thought-
in the audience?
Just like to ask, make sure there's nobody in the audience that does want to talk. So,
Any comments from the audience?
all right, I just-
Thanks.
Okay, I thought I heard somebody talk.
Okay,
Here's voices again.
next item is,
Do we need a motion, Bill, on that?
no, the chairman has the authority to establish subcommittees.
Yeah.
I just, administrative approvals.
The first
Megan.
one,
First one.
what did you do?
What I did was what was asked for in the zoning ordinance and we had discussed before. So, the township zoning ordinance allows administrative site plans in certain, instances, such as provision of accessory storage buildings in all zoning districts. What the zoning ordinance states is that the zoning administrator, of which I'm acting in that position, must create a report, present it to the planning commission, and then the planning commission must decide whether they want to take that to full site plan or not. In this case, it's a 870 square foot addition to an existing garage on the campus of St. Daniel's Church. I think our report goes into detail about what the provisions are. You had the site plan, also you had the site plan from the previous parking lot expansion that happened a number of years ago. One thing that I wanted to clarify in our letter is that the existing garage is non-conforming in that no detached accessory structure should be in the front yard. The front yard is defined as the front of the building, the principal building, that front facade to the front lot line. So if you did a site visit, you will see that the existing garage, and you look at the site plan, protrudes in front of those buildings. But the addition does not. Essentially, the rectory makes essentially the front facade of the rectory creates a 75-foot setback, and that addition is behind that, except for some projections that are allowed under another portion of the zoning ordinance. So on page 3 of our review, we had our proposed determination, which would say that this is it can be approved administratively with the condition that no storage of hazardous materials, waste, fuels, salt, or chemicals is allowed in the garage addition, and that's because of regulations that are in the zoning ordinance. And then it stipulates a number of things. If you agree with what's written there, then you don't need to take any action tonight. If you feel like this needs to go to full site plan, you could take that action by making a motion, and then a majority of the members of the planning commission who are present must vote for that. I think some representatives of the applicant are in the room if you have any questions.
Is this addition sketched in such a way that it keeps it behind the front setback?
Yeah.
It kind of looks like it probably could have been more to the front, but they made it go to the back just to,
Yep,
meet
actually,
that thing.
we had a conversation at the counter here at Township Hall about that, and that was part of the reason that it was stepped back the way it was.
so it doesn't increase the nonconformance.
It does not increase the nonconformance.
Anybody else?
I think that since it has an existing driveway, that makes it more palatable. That we're not making a curb cut and creating another path in, since it's just getting bigger for the pad area, but it's still set back off the road enough.
The other thing we noted in the review is that the existing pine tree that's in the front yard, that's in between the house across the street and the garage, is proposed to remain. And so that would provide some screening for that residence across the street.
Anybody in the audience, did you want to say something?
Yeah, well, hi there, Jay Noonan. with Design
If I could
Resources.
trouble you
Sure.
to come to the mic and name and address.
I'll give you my business address in Independence Township. I no longer live in Independence, but I'll give you the property on 7400 Dixie Highway. My family, we own that property. I live in Ortonville currently at 1886 Lake Point Drive. My name is Jay Noonan. I am an architect, and I am involved with the design there. I had met with Megan. And essentially, Father Craig and staff have identified on the St. Daniel's campus that we have in the rectory building, as well as some classroom spaces, the church staff has had to store catechetical, which is more or less Sunday school, for those of you that aren't Catholic, materials, as well as Christmas decorations. They have a VBS or a Bible thing in the summertime that they have a bunch of props and things that the teachers use, and they are stored just in the rectory basement and in some classrooms. So we're trying to address that. We do have a trailer that's been parked on that's been there for many, many years for that driveway that was permitted. There's an asphalt curb cut off of Valley Park Drive. The work we're proposing, again, meets the goals. I don't know how the original garage was ever built, where it is, but we are meeting the current zoning requirements for setbacks. Megan mentioned that there are some architectural features. They are actually contextual with the existing ones. So I've continued the roof line. It's a mono-slope roof, and I've tried to use the same materials, the same architectural features on both the transitional drive that goes between the Cushing Center and the garage that accesses on to Valley Park Drive. I've used all the same materials, same roof slope, same siding, same detailing. We have, I'm not gonna get into a lot, but it's, when we're finished, this should looks like it should be built at the same time. The lighting is gonna be totally compliant with the lighting that's on the rectory building. It is all shielded. We're keeping the tree. We're addressing the storage thing. We're not gonna be storing any flammable or, anything dangerous. In fact, we're gonna be solving a problem. We're gonna be moving such things where we have educational activities to go on and administrative activities to go on, and now we're gonna be moving it in a more appropriate, isolated location. So, long and short, that's what this little garage addition is all about, and we've tried to make it just as attractive and as compositionally similar to the original building as possible. So I'd be happy to answer any additional questions that the commission might have.
Looks good.
Anybody got any?
I don't.
Just a comment. I appreciate the plan. I know a lot of thoughtfulness went into it that
Thank
we
you.
kind of scanned through. I guess just a piece of nostalgia and a little bit of affirmation for the planning commission here. I think the last time you were in here was when you redid the parking lot 20 years ago,
Yep.
right? I was on the planning commission then, and we get buried in these details. And I remember us all getting really tuned into this 100-plus-year-old hickory tree that was going to be taken down. And we just thought that was so sad, and we worked with St. Daniel's, and we said, yeah, this is a mistake, and we kept that in there. And to this day, I still chuckle every time I see wedding pictures being taken by this, it's gotta be 150 years old now, hickory tree on the site.
That is neat.
Just a compliment, for good planning, and
Thank
also
you.
for the commission over the years. All those little conversations, we sometimes look back and say, this could've went better, we talk about but I love to look back and say, that was great. So I remember this meeting, and I remember us spending an inordinate amount of time saving a hickory tree. So just kudos for every time we spend an extra 10 minutes on something. And I think the plan for the garage is great. I really do.
Thank you.
I gotta mention it, you mentioned the trailer.
Yes,
Storage of a trailer like that is, I'm pretty sure, a violation of our ordinance.
it now won't be. Again, the trailer, it's a Boy Scout trailer, and I don't know, again, I'm a parishioner and a licensed architect. All I'm doing is solving, sometimes I tell people, I say I'm the dumb analogy architect. Sometimes it's a law, sometimes I take the architectural cap off and it's, I make other analogies, but I agree. But I think in terms of what we're doing, that trailer is now gonna be indoors,
Will
is
it
their
be?
intent.
Okay.
So, Mr.
Good.
Chair, that whole issue, I agree, it probably is. I certainly didn't authorize it. I don't know how it got out. So,
Okay. So, if we're done, nobody else got any comments? I think we don't,
We don't need to move on it right now.
no, just.
If we had a problem with your
Yeah.
approval.
Yes.
Nice job.
So I think we're okay with this, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love the
We should do
fact that
something
we
like
knew
this.
about it.
Yeah,
yeah, thanks for
Thank
giving
you.
us a shot.
yeah.
Should we make a motion not to make a motion?
No? Move for a virtual high five.
So the,
Well done.
Nice
I
to know
thi-
when things
I
are
think the
happening.
next thing is to move on to the next topic,
All right.
which is approval of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Special meeting of February 26th. Anybody had any changes to those? I don't think I did have any, so, when I sent them back. So, anybody got any changes? Somebody give me a motion.
Move to approve the special meeting minutes of February 26, 2026.
Support?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Megan, got a consultant's report.
Yes, number one, as I said, before the meeting started, my colleague Benny Bono is joining us, and you, will see him around Township Hall and also, possibly at these meetings. Then also, we've been requested by the supervisor to track training. So you please expect a email asking you to provide to us when you received your citizen planner. If you have not,
You see what Copilot says.
or you
Yeah.
just know that you have, let us know. Also, there's an expectation, as you had in your annual report, of, I think it was an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Yeah, you might be right, 2 hours.
2 hours of continuing education for you that the township will reimburse. We'll continue to send you information about training opportunities that are available. But we'll ask you to share that with us so we can track it, and that can be part of your report at the end of the year. Back to the township board.
That is a requirement for reappointment too.
The citizen planner,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then if that is something that you haven't done yet, or you need any assistance in signing up for those courses, again, let myself or Benny know, and we'll be happy to help.
Reimbursement,
Township will reimburse.
how do we do that?
Those would go through Dave Moran.
Okay, okay. Questions?
Sam will give you some.
I'm just curious, what
Yeah, I'll
about
pay
the
for it. I'll
annual
cover it.
planning conference? What if we hit that and did some classes at the annual planning conference they do in Kozer? Can we like just go there for an afternoon and did some classes?
So the planning conference, usually, I think they'll have a 2-day option or a 3-day option.
One day option?
I
Okay.
don't know that they've had the 1-day option anymore. And
Just
then,
leave early.
also though, MAP has those, moving, they have different workshops across the state, so I think there's like a planning and zoning essentials that's coming up soon that is in Frankenmuth. Also Oakland County.
I was trying to think of a way
offers
of getting maybe
things.
getting a requirement and having some interaction with the other planners across the state. That's what I was kind
Oh,
of going
okay,
for. I'm
yeah.
wondering if like a few sessions at the conference might.
I went,
just do it.
I have to be honest, I went to the conference and, this last one, and I did not meet a lot of other planning commission members.
Really?
Yeah, they were mostly municipal employees or people like Megan and involved in planning consultants, engineering, and stuff like that.
I went to this convention when it was at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island.
Oh,
And the township was generous to send all the planning commissioners that wanted to go to that, so.
I get to the Kalamazoo Radisson because. it
I know,
says
that's what I was
Due
thinking.
to past
But I think
expenses.
I am gonna go to Kalamazoo, but it won't be the same as the
Where's the
Grand
next one?
Hotel, you
It's
know?
at the Kalamazoo Radisson.
Oh,
It's
And I
at
took-
Kalamazoo,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
I think this will be a little more economical.
that was,
After Sam's expense report, they stopped off.
that was very
They
nice.
did it once and they shut the whole program down.
I will say that was a very nice facility. But,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay. I was just looking at a way of killing two birds with one stone.
Well,
What are the
and-
dates for
and-
that?
And a lot of them are online too, so.
That's true.
It's September
Then you're really not meeting anybody though.
30th through
like the
October
quote.
Is it
2nd,
in
I
here?
think, something like
Okay.
that.
Anybody else?
September 30th
But I can't get
through
away.
Megan, you got anything
October
else?
2nd.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Megan
Uh,
actually,
all that stuff.
Bill, Megan shared with me a
3D
list of continuing education through Michigan State University. I think that those are helpful too.
Yeah.
And those are, so when I was looking at this, I reached out to you about the parking, and then I realized it was in St. Joseph, and I thought, oh, shoot, they don't do webinars at the same time. So then I appreciated that you came back and said, hey, there's also Michigan State that does webinars. So if you're not, I don't know that that date works for me in March to drive out to St. Joseph, but there was some others through Michigan State Extension that I could, stay from home and participate. So that's there too.
And the
They do
county,
online ones
county
quite
has,
often, too.
does it- Brian, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say they have, the online ones are quite often, so I mean, a lot more
Mm-hmm.
frequent than the other.
County puts on a lot too.
Yeah. So, okay. Discussion, anybody here got anything to discuss? Yeah, I have a question for Megan. You and I talked about a little session for data centers, and you made us, I think you said you were developing one for another community or something, and maybe, or I don't remember.
It was another Carlisle employee was presenting, wasn't that it? Or no?
Yeah, our colleague Mike Auerbach had presented for Michigan Association of Planning on, on a webinar earlier this month. I'm sorry, in February, about data centers. So, we can amend some of that, we can use some of that material and do a training here if you would like on data centers, just understanding what they are. They're different forms because there's different size and scales, and then what the potential impacts are and how they've been regulated.
So shouldn't it be something that we figure out if we were going to allow them, or by law, if we have to, what zoning district we would
By law-
allow them in?
By law, you would have to allow them, the case in Saline Township, which has been in the press with, the hyperscale data center that's going in there. That was because of, an exclusionary zoning suit that came forward after they had denied it. So you have an industrial districts, and they would likely go there. You don't have anyone coming to you asking,
Well, we don't wanna wait for that.
at this point,
Nuclear
so
power
if
plant
you
to
don't
run
wanna,
it right next
yeah.
to it.
So we could have a training, and then, we've been working with a lot of our clients in order to get prepared. Most of our clients, what they've done is if they are concerned about a data center coming and not having rules in place, they've passed a moratorium first, which would be done at the township board level, and then, worked on zoning ordinance amendments.
Didn't Springfield Township just pass a moratorium on that? I was told that by somebody,
I am unaware.
because they got some big tracts of land too. But even though we don't, you gotta stay ahead of that stuff to put it in the right place. It's like with the grow operations, you know, we had to figure out where, you know, where we could put them, and you gotta outline it. We don't want a small one, we don't want a big one. If we don't want them near residential, then you gotta put them in industrial, you know, but I think it's just pushing paper for in my opinion, it's just pushing paper for the protection. You know, we know they're a thing, figure out where we want them, send it to us, let's, you know, give us a class, educate us on it so we can make a decision, and then amend whatever needs to be amended, so that if they're presented, we're ahead of the curve. You know, that's how we beat Walmart and all that other stuff, was getting way ahead of it. And then we had defensible ordinances, and, you know, I think we were one of the few communities that actually won that argument with them, you know, so.
Would a class be a public hearing? Or no?
It would be a public meeting because you would have a
Or a
forum,
public meeting,
but
sorry.
it wouldn't be a public hearing, no. Then also something to consider is whether you would want to request this to be a joint meeting between the township board
That's what I was
and
going
the
for.
planning commission. You've done, I think you did that the other, last year on plan unit developments, actually.
And I think we did this when wind was the thing, because we got into the whole flicker effect and how tall they could be, and if you could have them on residential property, and before that, when that was gonna be a hot thing. I mean, you've gotta get
Would-
ahead of it, you know?
Megan, would this be a cost issue?
Be her time.
It would be our time in order to develop the training and then, give the training.
Can I ask you to put together a quote and then present that to Chuck and float the idea of a joint meeting?
Why do we need formal training about a data center when all that information's out there? Why can't it just be a presentation at a meeting and then decide if we want to move forward with setting a public hearing to talk about it, or, you know, or amending the ordinance? I mean, I can tell you that a data center is not a residential home, you know, and it's not a small Starbucks, and anything bigger than that, I'm not super interested in coming here. So I could do enough research, I think, on my own to know whether or not I think it's something worth warranting effort to put protections in place or not. You know, because I could see this not moving forward because they don't want to pay all the board members to be there, and they don't want to pay all the planning commission members to be there to learn that, and I don't want And like you're saying, now we gotta put a bid together. Well, we don't need her to put a bid together and get it approved unless we're approving the board members to be there. You know, so,
It could be a presentation at the planning commission. It's just that if you had a joint meeting with the township board and the planning commission, both of whom would be involved in the decisions, then you know that everybody has the same starting point in terms of
well,
information.
and I wanna make that point. We did that before and on a different item, and because our meetings are recorded, that exact presentation and all of our comments are available to the board members to view. And that's the same thing as being there, except it's free. That's my opinion. I have no problem if I was a board member to watch the planning commission meeting and now I'm educated. Then it gets to the board members and then they can make comments and questions. I'm just saying there's another way around it and that has,
Save a few bucks.
that-
Yeah.
well, it,
Well,
it's
I'm
an
not,
option.
I mean, Megan, to make a presentation just to the planning commission, I mean, your time presenting that comes under your contract to be a planning commission, so that wouldn't be a cost. But do you have a canned program, or does somebody have to work on putting one together?
We have a program, and I think with a half hour, it could be tweaked to Independence Township's context.
I have a quick question on that. Is it realistic they could put a data center in Independence Township, or would they get the power source?
Yes, it is realistic, because of the scales that they're at. And then also, they do like to be next to substations or power lines. And so we would want to, that would be part of the preparation of the presentation, is to look at where you have that infrastructure within the township.
Right on Sash Rock, that was
Mr.
right.
Chair,
So it's relevant.
for Megan, isn't there some work going on now in the legislation about these data centers providing their own power?
Yes.
Must be providing their own power, with excess going to the community.
Well, that's not been confirmed.
What?
I don't
That's
know
not been
whether,
confirmed.
Well, not yet, but
That'd be even more of a negative for us, I would think, though, too. Have a big
Go ahead,
power
Megan,
plant next to it.
yeah, I'm sorry too.
Sorry.
The-
I don't know what bills have been introduced in the legislature. I know that there's been press about it. And I'm sure that there will continue to be talk about what impact data centers have, on not only electrical, rates and electrical consumption, but other things to consider, with them is noise is really the biggest impact that they have. Because they want 98% reliability, 24 hours.
well, yeah, I wouldn't say that we should include this in our plans, but the technology is changing so rapidly that these data centers are probably gonna require 1/10 of the power that they're requiring today. Case in point, when I first get into IT business, I mean, we used to go down to the GM building every night for our Fisher bodybuilding programs for the next day, schedules. And that computer took the size of this room, and they were all vacuum tubes, and they had to have water cooling to keep the thing running. My phone has more power today than that computer did in 1965. You know, so what we're talking about today for a data center, 10 years from now is gonna be the top of your pencil.
So, just a comment on this, so I like the conversation. The only thing worse than a data center coming into the township that's sucking up a lot of power is this big ugly building that isn't used anymore because it was a data center, like the old Home Depot when it gets abandoned. I like this conversation because, I do think it's worth getting us all aligned. When you did windmills, your concern was a windmill coming in, right? And a person or a farmer or somebody that wanted to do it. If we had the proposal for a data center to come in, it's a much bigger, customer that wants it in with much deeper pockets. So I like the idea of us getting aligned. So as far as training, if it costs a few $100s to get the planning commission and the board on a basis that we can point to later and say, we didn't, whenever we talk about making a regulation, you'd like to make sure that you can make the credible argument that you had some knowledge and intelligence. So I think it's worth the effort. And Megan, if we can do it with something that you have in-house, that's great, save some money, but I wouldn't be a penny wise and a dollar foolish here. I think we need something that we can show evidence that, no, they were knowledgeable about what data centers are, what they're used for, what purposes, the power consumptions, is probably in our presentation. I agree with Sam, there's a lot of information out here, but I'm just looking for something that we can point to and say, we got all on the same page here, and some of us, did more research than not. But, and just to be clear, there's no pending proposal that I know of, but it's probably a really good idea to have something in our back pocket on how we would react should something come in.
Thank you. There was a gentleman in the office, audience.
My understanding of these data centers that, it's not the processors that have the problem with and the consumption. It's all the air conditioning rooftop units they have to cool the building. That's gonna be a big draw.
Yep.
Mm.
And what they're leaning towards, you mentioned advances in the technology. They're talking about having small reactors now. And they don't need the containment vessel because they're gonna use pelletized, round spherical fuel. And it's gonna be recirculating like the steering wheel, in your car, and they can regulate it that way. So theoretically, if it works, that, they're gonna be making more power than what they need, and they can sell it back to the community. And, that's yet to be done. That's where it's going.
Thank you. So Megan, why don't you see what you can come up with?
I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any other topics they want to discuss? How about a motion to adjourn?
So Lou?
Support.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're done at 7:21.
One off the record comment,